Hi everyone, welcome to the day 10 of learning data science. And with me, Aditi Sahai is there. And later in these videos, she gonna teach you statistics, basically everything related to data science, whatever things is needed basically in stats. So we will discuss that things later, but now we should focus on Python. And yes, basically yesterday we discussed about list. We discussed about different functions pertaining to list. We discussed about how we can concatenate the list, how we can perform arithmetic functions as well in list. So yes, now let's move ahead with the next data type, next sequential data type, which is tuples. And yes, like every day I tell you guys to just read the mind map. Again, what is a mind map? It's the pictorial representation of your data. So you have to just type Python mind map on Google, just like this. And you can see the screen, the pop-up, it displays like this. And how the mind map operates is you just have to double click on each of the branches which you have to open it, right? So like this, it works. And I suggest you guys to read this mind map at least 3 to 4 times a day, every day. Why? Why I'm telling you guys to read this? Because it will not only increase your memory, but also it will increase your understanding related to any particular topic. Because I myself can't remember what I have eaten 7 days ago, right? So how can you guys will be able to remember what you have eaten? Similarly, it happens when we are learning something as well. If today we are learning something and if we are not in and consistent in this, and if we are not consistently following the things, then what will happen, we might forget the things. And this is the thing which I always say, that yes, consistency beats talent. So just for you to grow, you have to be consistent in you, and you have to choose the right direction. You have to put your efforts in a right direction, right? Then only you can be able to learn something, and yes, you can able to grow your skills, right? So now let's move on to the data types in Python. And meanwhile, you guys just open this mind map and read it. What I will do, I will just open my Anaconda Navigator, because it takes a little bit time to open Anaconda Navigator. And again, why I'm opening Anaconda Navigator? Because as I said, that you should practice the programs on Spider. Why Spider? Because someone who is watching this video, he might be a beginner in learning Python. Okay, so for the beginners, I suggest Spider, because Spider not only it increases, it has various of what you can say visualization techniques, or the various features whenever someone is a newbie, is learning something. So you need features to understand something more properly, right? Uh, but if you are using any other ID, for example, PyCharm, VS Code, there are many more, right? If you are using that, the features are less. I'm not saying that those IDs are bad, those IDs can't work. No, they are best. I personally, I use VS Code. But yes, a Spider is for beginner, because Spider provides you various features. You can learn various things. You can learn various uh, functions. You can learn in in a detailed way the codes, the code which you are writing it. You can learn in a detailed way. So for that reason, you should obviously switch to Spider if you are a beginner. Okay, so yeah, my Spider is being opened, and my VS Code as well. It's opened here. Now let's switch on to the mind map, and let's discuss the things. Okay, so as I have said, yeah, what are sequential data types? Sequential data types means the data types are in an ordered way. It's like if we are printing n number of times that particular data, that particular data type, that particular variable, so the order doesn't get changes. Okay. So for that reason, these three data types, which are string, list, and tuples, it comes under sequential data types. And the very first thing related to data types, which we have already uh, been understood, is the numeric data types. In numeric data types, it uh, contains int, float, boolean, complex number, right? So those are in numeric data types. Whenever in an interview or anywhere else, if someone asks you what are the various data types in Python, right? So for that reason, you have to be specific in it. Like you can't just say it manually. Okay, int is there, float is there, these all are there, right? You have to mention that what particular data type int is, what particular data type tuple is, what particular data type list is, right? So you have to mention all those things. And now let's move on to the tuple topic. Tuple, you can see here, it is an ordered collection. Ordered means something which is at its first index, the first element of a tuple. Okay, you can see a t equal to 1 comma 2 comma 2 comma 3 comma 2. So the very first element is 1. It doesn't matter how many times we are printing it, the order will be same. Okay, this 1 will be in its initial position, the first position, and this 2 will be in the last position, right? So for that reason, it is a sequential data type. So this is the very first feature which we learn about tuple, that it is a ordered of sequence, right? What is the second feature that we learn about tuple? Is it is immutable. Immutable means we can't change it. Uh, we can't change the data inside a tuple. Okay. Previously, when we studied string, string was a mutable data type, which I have been showed you guys. Means like if you will relate to my previous videos, if you just go and watch it, right, then you can able to understand how we are able to change the certain values of that particular list. Okay. And the another immutable data types which we talked earlier was strings. In string as well, I have showed you how the element inside the strings can't be changed once the string is defined, right? So it same goes with tuple. Tuple is immutable in nature. We can't change the values once we had created the tuples, right? And what are the third feature which tuple holds is tuples can contain various data types. Inside a tuple, we can various data types can be contained, just like list. In list, I've showed you that, for example, T is a list, and inside a list, the data type, it can be int, it can be float, it can be string, and it can become combination of all those. It can contain all the data types. So the same way it goes with tuple. In tuple as well, it contains all the data types inside that particular single tuple. Every data type can be seen there, right? So this is the third value. Sorry, my bad. It is the third point related to tuple. And what is the fourth point? The fourth point again here is uh, it contains duplicate values, and whenever we are defining the tuple, we should use parenthesis. Parenthesis means common bracket. Common bracket you can see here. This bracket, uh, whenever you can see that the elements are in parenthesis or in common bracket, then you have to understand it. Okay, this is a tuple. Whenever you see the elements is in a square bracket, so those particular data type is a list, because I have told you in list it contains square, the elements are contained within square bracket. So similarly in tuple, the elements is contained inside a common bracket, right? And so these are all the things which uh, is the features of tuple. And I hope you guys are making the running notes. As I say usual in my every video, that you should make the running notes. Why? Because it will increase your memory. Because understanding any programming language is just like swimming. You can't just like swimming, or you can say just like driving a car, right? You can't just watch any YouTube video and you can search it how to drive a car. You can't learn that. Similarly, if you will search how to swim, so you can't just learn swimming by watching some YouTube random videos. Same goes with learning how to drive. For that, you should be able to present inside a car or inside that particular pool or inside a water to learn certain things. And for learning programming as well, you should make the running notes, you should be involved, you should be able to code, you should code side by side. You should code every day 500 to 1000 lines of code, because you have to master Python within 30 days. It's not that you will take your lifelong to do it. If you are writing only 10 to 20 lines of code, so it will take you a year, it will take you a couple of years to learn that, right? So you just don't want yourself to degrade yourself in your life, in your skills, right? So for that, you should be involved into it, just like driving a car, just like swimming. Okay. So now let's move on to the things. When I will uh, double click on this, you can see here that tuples are defined using parentheses, as I have told you, and can hold multiple data types as well. Okay, here you can see the multiple data types, which is this particular 1, 2, and 3 is an integer, but this hello is a string. Similarly, it goes with 4.5. 4.5 is a uh, float number, right? And indexing, I hope you guys have remembered it, because we have performed indexing upon the two sequential data types which we have learned earlier. One was string, second was list. Okay, and the indexing in Python language or any language, whether it's C, C++, Java, indexing always starts from zero. In real life, the numbers which we start is from 1, but in any programming language, the indexing starts from 0, from whole number. Whole number means the numbers will start from 0. So I hope you guys have remembered these things. And again, how to use indexing is the basic syntax regarding to this logic is, you have to write that particular variable name, that particular data type, and you have to use a square bracket. Here you can see that in tuple we are using parentheses, but again when we will be indexing, when we have to locate this particular value, whether it can be one, whether it can be hello. Okay, so for that we need to retrieve this particular element through square bracket, and within the square bracket you have to write the indexing. Again, one thing which I have told you guys, that whenever you are sticking to positive indexing, then you are moving from left to right. And whenever you are sticking to any negative indexing, whenever you want to fetch the elements using a negative indexing, then you should move from right to left, that is from decreasing order. So whenever you are using any decreasing order, you are moving from right to left, then you are using negative indexing. Negative indexing doesn't start from -0, because 0 doesn't have any sign. Okay, so it's always start from -1. But whenever you are using any positive indexing, it starts from 0. So for example, here you can see it, this particular value of 1, when we will start from positive indexing, its value will be 0. This particular element contains the index of value 0, right? And this 4.5, whenever we are starting from the decreasing order from right to left, you can say this is left and we are moving from left to right. But when we have to move from right to left, this particular value will be -1. Similarly, this will be -2, -3, -4, and -5, right? So like this way, and I hope you guys also know about what indexing looks like, right? As I've said, you can see the basic syntax behind is that you have to write that particular variable name. Again, which variable name? The variable in which the particular data type is present. Here you can see the variable name is my tuple, and in my tuple, this tuple is present. For that reason, we are writing my tuple. The variable, it can be in anything, right? We have discussed all those things pertaining to what are the certain conditions, what are the certain limitations when when we are defining any variable, right? So we will write the variable name and we will use square bracket to fetch that particular element, right? So as I have said you guys that whenever we are using the zeroth index, so zeroth index is the very first element and the minus one is the last element of it. So you can obviously see the output is 4.5. And we have also discussed about the slicing in string and as well in list previously. And the most important part, which I have told you guys, that in slicing, the very first thing which we write under the square bracket is the start value. Then we write the end value, then we write the step. And all these values are separated by a colon. Again, what is a colon? Colon means like the indentation which you guys give it. Whenever you are using any functions, whenever you are using any loops, whenever you are using any conditional statement, so that is indentation, that colon sign, double dot, that is up and low. Okay. So the very first thing is start, then it comes the end, then it comes the step. And if you are not writing anything, then by default, everything will be the step will be one, because in real life you just don't jump the steps. Whenever you are climbing the stairs, you take the step of one. You don't just take the step of zero, then you just climb at the third stair, then you climb at the 10th stair. No, you just go step by step. So for that reason, in Python as well, whenever we are not giving any step value, that means Python considers that step value as one. Similarly, it goes with the start and end value. And all these things have been discussed in detail when we were learning strings and Python. And I have also told you guys that why that default value comes under whenever we are not writing in anything, right? So all these are the revision what we have done it earlier, right? So default value means like if you have a question, why the value starts from zero? Okay, why if we are not giving any values, it will consider the very first element and it will go till the last element. Why this particular thing is there? The basic question here is why. So for this, the answer is the programmer. I hope you guys have remembered who have discovered Python, who have invented Python, who have made the Python come. So Van Rossum, the programmer who developed the Python, he have inbuilt these things, right? So by default, he had given these things that these things will carry on. You There is a no question pertaining to that. Let's take a real life example. Real life example means, for example, someone who is watching this video is a boy, right? And someone who's watching this video is a girl, right? So the default thing, the default structure of our body is being defined by someone who had made it, the God. Okay, you can't just question God. Why I made a girl? Why certain limitations are there in my body when I am a girl? Why certain limitations are there in my body when I'm a boy? No, these are the default values. So similarly, someone, the god for this Python is the programmer who invented it. So whenever in future as well, if I will say that this particular thing, if we are not mentioning it by default, it takes this certain value. So that means there is a no why regarding to that. Why? Because it has been developed by that programmer itself. You can't question that why this particular thing is there. So I hope you guys have understood about the default values. So it will come later in everywhere. It's not upon the tuple slicing. It's not upon the default values whenever we are using in indexing or anything. Later when we will learn about the functions, we will learn about the loops, we will learn about the object oriented programming in Python, whenever we will learn about the data frames, numpys and pandas. So every time when we will not assign any values, by default there will be some values. So that values is being designed by the programmer. So I hope you guys right now have understood the basics of what is a tuple and what is basically the structure of a tuple, how you can understand it, what is a tuple. Okay, now let's move on to the coding part. Okay, so I will be sharing my screen, and here, just give me a second. So, like, whenever you want to open a new file, you have to just click here. You have to just open your new file, and in the new file, you can just code it here, right? So just give me a second. Yeah. So let me increase the font here. So whenever you are coding anything, so just make sure that when you have finished the code, if you finished writing the code, so what you have to do it, you have to just go here. You have to just save your data. I hope you guys have an idea how to save certain files, whether it is a Microsoft Word you are using it, or it is a PowerPoint presentation. So it's the similar way when you are saving in a file in a Python as well. Okay. So right now let's define a tuple. Can say t is equal to, here just like take one integer value. Now let's take one Boolean value. Now let's take one string value, and the another, now just let's take some, what you can say it, it's complex number. Now again, let's take some string value as well. Oh, sorry, my bad, list value as well. I hope you guys remember why this particular thing is a list, because it's enclosed in square brackets, right? So you can see it, like various data types is being contained here, right? So tuple can contain all the data types here, right? And the next thing which I have to check the type of this, what particular thing is this. So you can use a function name type, and within the type you can write the particular variable name. So if I will execute this line of code, and when I will execute this, you can see on the screen that it is a tuple, because tuple is in parenthesis. And yes, whenever you want to change any data type as well, so for that reason also you can use a tuple. Just for example, if I'm defining a list, okay, I'm writing here, just copy paste the same thing. Okay, no, let's not copy paste, just write any random values. Okay, so this is a list. Okay, and if I want to convert it into a tuple, okay, so what I will do it, I will just use a type conversion. And I hope you guys have remembered the type conversion which I have told you guys. There are two type of type conversion. First is implicit, and the second one is explicit. So again, what do you mean by implicit and what do you mean by explicit? Okay, so implicit means Python is a dynamic programming language, and by default, Python understands whatever value we are assigning it. It's not like any other programming language like C, C++, Java, where you have to particularly give that uh, variable a particular data type. No, here you can see it. I have defined here T here as a tuple, and whenever I was printing the type of this particular thing, Python automatically identifies this thing as a tuple. So this comes under implicit. Implicit means by default Python understand what type of data type is, what type of data type we are using inside it, what type that particular variable holds what type of data, right? Python understands automatically because Python is a dynamic programming language. And what do you mean by explicit? Explicit means it depends upon user. For example, I don't like this list. Okay, I want it should be in tuple. Okay, so what I will do, I will assign one variable t1, and here I will use tuple, and here I will write L. Okay, and when I will execute this line of code, okay, my bad, I haven't used run this code. Okay, and now if I'm checking the type of this, okay, I'm checking the type of t1. Okay, so you can see here the type of t1 is tuple. Previously it was a list, and when I will print it, you can see the values are in parentheses. Okay, so for example, if you don't want to write this as well, so let's execute this. Okay, and now when I'm printing L here and here as well, if I will print L, and here as well, if I will use the type L. So if I will execute this line of code, then yes, you will be able to see it that previously print L, it was in list. Why it was in list? Because it's enclosed under square brackets. And when I use the type, you can see here the type it's showing list. But whenever I am using this particular command, this particular query, this particular line of code, so what will happen? It will convert the whole list into a tuple. And when you can see here that it is again in parenthesis, and something which is in parenthesis is a tuple, right? And if I will check the type here, for example, type of L, and if I will execute this line of code, you can see that it is a list. Why there is a question that we have already changed the conversion type, but it's not affecting in that particular list. So the answer behind is it that we are not storing this particular value in any variable. Neither we are storing that value in that particular L itself, neither we are storing it any another variable as well. So for the very first instance, this things is getting converted as a tuple, but it will not reflect in your variable. So for example, if I will use a variable explorer here, you can see it that the in the console you can see the output as a tuple, but here in variable explorer, if I will click on it, you can see that this is a list. Okay, and the type here is int, and these are the values. Okay, so if you want that this particular thing should be able to reflect in your variable explorer, for these things to affect in your particular variable in which the previously list was contained. So for that reason, what you have to do, you have to write L is equal to tuple of L. Then if I will execute this line of code, then you can see here it's being changed to tuple. Okay, previously it was list, now it's being changed to tuple. Okay, so in Spider you can able to see these things with the help of console as well. So for that reason, I suggest you guys to use Spider. Okay, and for example, if you want to check it that what particular tuple means, so for that reason, just select that particular thing and use a button shortcut button as control plus I. Whenever I'm using control plus I will receive the certain documentation pertaining to that particular thing. You can see here that tuple is a built-in mutable sequence, and these all things you will not get any in any other IDs, right? So for you guys to understand it better, for you guys to understand it in a more simpler way, because you are a beginner, you want to understand everything from basics. For that reason, use these things. And for the same thing, if I wanna do on a type, and if I would do control I, so you can see what particular type things does. So you can use these things are there. Okay, how we can use. And the next thing which I have told you guys, that if you have to check what are the particular functions inside a tuple, so for that also spider is a beautiful idea. It provides you that flexibility to see it. And what's the particular code? I want you guys to just, I hope you guys are making the running notes so that you don't forget it. So the basic simple syntax, basic simple query for it's dir, and within dir, write tuple. Okay. And when I will execute this line of code, then you can see these are the functions pertaining to tuple. Add is there, class, get num, subclass, len, reduce x. So these all things count in index. These all things we will discuss in detail. But yeah, we will be not be discussing everything in detail. Why? Because if I would discuss everything in detail, so for one particular topic of tuple, it will take 7 days, right? So for that reason, I'm telling you guys to just keep practicing, okay? Because the only thing which I remember, which is that self-help is a great help, right? No one is gonna help you. It's the only person inside you. You are going to help yourself. No one is going to help you. I can guide you, or someone who is there in your academics or your elders or anyone, they will guide you. But you are the person who should walk, right? I can tell you what these functions are, but again, for you guys to remember it, you should perform these functions. You should write the line of code which uses these particular functions. Okay, so for that reason, you have to practice every day 500 to thousands lines of code. And it doesn't matter what type of code you are practicing it, whether you are practicing in loops, whether you are practicing in functions, whether you are practicing in some operators, whether in some variables, whether in some data types, whether it's upon exceptional handling, whether it's upon some data frames. No, I'm not telling you to perform this. I'm telling you to, it's depends upon you. Whatever topic you feel you want to go with, you just start from there, start from the basics, right? And so this was the thing, how we can locate the variable functions which are there in tuple. And if I want to see the detailed way, that okay, this count is there, but what this count does, right? So for that there is another syntax. You have to write help, sorry, my bad, I was help, and in help I will write tuple. Okay. And if I will execute this line of code, you can see here that previously it was showing only the names. And after that, you can see that these things are in the detailed way. And these things you have to do self-study, you have to practice, you have to practice every day. Because again, why I'm repeating these things, because I will tell you guys to practice 1,500 lines of code 10 times. You will not listen to me 8 times or 9 times. But yes, you will listen to me the one time. And for that one time, you will be able to break those, right? Because I'm repeating that programming, coding is not something that you can learn just by watching the videos. It's the similar way you are learning something practically, whether it's swimming or you are learning how to drive a car. So these all things is there. These things you can't learn it just by watching a video. Okay. So I hope you guys have understood this, what the use of this dir tuple. And just make sure that use these two only, means like dir and help. It follows in every data type, in everything. Whenever you have to look the certain functions, for example, if I want to see what are the certain function related to string, so I will just use the simple way. The simple basic thing is dir, and within this function name I will use str. Why? Because str is a string. And when I will execute this line of code, you can see that there are various functions relating to string. Add, contains, get attribute, new. reduce, capitalize, center, count, and all these things we have discussed in list. Is upper, what is join, what is lower, what is split, and these all things. If you guys will watch my videos, I have discussed these things. So it same applies with the list as well. If you will use dir and if you type list here, so it will give you the functions all pertaining to list. So just make sure to remember dir, what is the meaning of dir, what is the meaning of help. So okay, so we are stopping today here, and tomorrow we will discuss the functions which is in tuple, how we can operate tuple in a detailed way. Today was the introductory part of tuple. I have showed you guys what is implicit type conversion, how we can convert different data type in tuple. I have showed is the what are the features of Python, what all thing sorry my bad, what are the features of tuple, what are the things we can implement in a tuple, what is tuple basically is. So tomorrow we will be discussing these things, these functions in a detailed way. These particular functions we will be discussing in a detailed way. Okay, so and I hope you guys will join the session of time. If not, then you can watch the recording as well. So till then, just keep practicing it, practicing it every day, and see you guys tomorrow. Till then, bye bye, good night, take care, and Jai Hind.